When you see the word imported on a grocery store product, it carries a certain prestige. Imported olive oil must be from some sun-soaked grove in Tuscany. Imported cheese, probably aged in a cave somewhere in France. Imported chocolate sounds luxurious, rich, and indulgent. For many shoppers, imported means authentic, exotic, and higher quality. It conjures images of old-world artisans and strict European standards. It makes you feel like you're getting the real thing. But here's the problem. In many cases, you're not. The truth is, the imported label doesn't always mean what you think it does. In fact, much of what's marketed as imported food is often manipulated, misleading, or downright deceptive. It might come from a different country, sure, but not the one you expect. It might meet the bare minimum standard for being imported, but fall far short of quality. In some cases, it's repackaged, diluted, or adulterated long before it ever hits the shelf. And if you think paying more guarantees better quality, think again. Let's start with olive oil, arguably one of the most abused imported food products in grocery stores. The label might say imported from Italy, but that doesn't mean the olives were grown in Italy. It doesn't even mean the oil was made there. In many cases, olives from Tunisia, Greece, Spain, or Morocco are shipped to Italy, processed in massive industrial facilities, and then bottled and labeled as product of Italy. The only thing Italian about it is the final bottling location. Some companies even blend multiple low-grade oils together and still slap a premium extra virgin tag on the bottle. Studies and investigations have repeatedly found that a significant percentage of imported extra virgin olive oils fail to meet international purity standards. They're cut with cheaper oils like soybean or sunflower oil. They're oxidized or old. Some are even chemically deodorized to remove rancid smells before being sold to consumers. That luxurious imported olive oil? It might be closer to motor oil than Mediterranean gold. Next up, cheese. Who doesn't love a good imported brie or parmesan? But here too, labels can be misleading. In the US, terms like Parmesan and Romano aren't protected by the same strict naming laws that apply in Europe. That means your imported Parmesan could be made from cow's milk in Argentina, shipped in bulk to the US, and aged in stainless steel tanks, nothing like the artisanal wheels from Parma, Italy. True Parmigiano Reggiano follows a specific process, uses specific ingredients, and is aged for at least 12 months. The knockoffs? Often salty, rubbery, and lacking the complexity of the real deal. Even worse, many imported cheeses are frozen during transit, which drastically affects texture and flavor. They're thawed, repackaged, and marketed as premium without any disclosure. Unless you see a PDO, Protected Designation of Origin, seal, or a stamp from a recognized governing body, the authenticity of that imported cheese is questionable at best. Let's move on to honey, a food product so commonly faked that entire global investigations have been launched into it. Much of the imported honey sold in US stores, especially when it's cheap, isn't really honey. It's often a mix of low-quality honey and corn syrup or rice syrup imported from countries with lax regulations and minimal enforcement. China, in particular, has been accused of dumping massive quantities of adulterated honey into global markets. Some exporters even launder honey through third-party countries to disguise its origin and bypass trade restrictions. To make matters worse, this fake honey is often filtered so thoroughly that all the pollen is removed, making it nearly impossible to trace where it came from. That jar of golden syrup that says imported honey might be sweet, but it could be completely stripped of the enzymes, antioxidants, and antimicrobial properties that make real honey beneficial. And if it's been contaminated with antibiotics or heavy metals during production, you'll never know. Tea is another popular imported good that consumers take at face value. A box might say imported from China or pure Ceylon tea, but what you're actually getting could be dust-grade leaves, pesticide-laden clippings, or even dyed filler material. The tea industry is rife with fraud, especially in the lower price brackets. Some bulk teas are sprayed with coloring agents to appear fresher. Others are artificially scented to mimic more expensive varieties. And because the average consumer doesn't inspect tea leaves under a microscope, most never realize they've been duped. Now let's talk about spices. Tiny jars that pack a powerful punch in both flavor and price. Imported spices are among the most counterfeited food items in the world. Oregano can be mixed with dried olive leaves. Saffron may be laced with dyed corn silk. Black pepper can contain ground-up papaya seeds. Turmeric might have added lead chromate, a yellow pigment used in industrial paint, to enhance its color. These adulterants aren't just dishonest, they're dangerous. Lead, for instance, is toxic even in small amounts and can cause neurological damage, especially in children. Yet, imported turmeric samples from countries like India and Bangladesh have repeatedly tested positive for lead contamination. If you're buying bulk imported spices without certification or origin traceability, you're rolling the dice every time you season your food. Seafood is another minefield. According to multiple studies, a significant portion of imported seafood is mislabeled. You might think you're buying wild-caught red snapper from Indonesia, but DNA tests have revealed that such fish is often tilapia or catfish from Vietnam. Shrimp labeled as organic could be raised in polluted waters with minimal oversight. And imported farmed fish are frequently treated with antibiotics, hormones, and antifungals, many of which are banned in the US, but still show up in products sold here. Frozen imported shrimp is particularly notorious. In many cases, it's processed in unsanitary facilities, peeled by underpaid or even trafficked laborers, then doused in chemicals like sodium tripolyphosphate to enhance plumpness and weight. That bargain bag of imported shrimp might not just be ethically questionable, it might also be chemically inflated. Then there's chocolate. Chocolate lovers often believe that imported equals superior, especially when it comes from countries like Belgium or Switzerland. And yes, many premium chocolatiers do craft exceptional products. But just because it's imported doesn't mean it's high quality. Mass-market European chocolate brands often use high sugar content, vegetable oils instead of cocoa butter, and low-grade cocoa beans to cut costs. The label might say, "Made in Belgium," but the cocoa could be from poorly regulated farms with known labor abuses or pesticide overuse. And don't be fooled by fancy wrapping. Some imported chocolates contain more wax than cocoa. Wine, too, has its pitfalls. The wine industry is one of the most tightly controlled markets in some countries and the loosest in others. Labels like imported Italian wine sound impressive, but the grapes could be bulked in from several countries, mixed in steel vats, and shipped overseas in massive containers before bottling. Cheap imported wines may also contain added sulfites, flavorings, or artificial coloring to maintain consistency. Without a controlled designation label or certification, imported could mean almost anything. So why does this keep happening? Because the term imported is often used more for marketing than for transparency. There's no universal standard for what makes something imported in a way that guarantees quality. A food product might be assembled in one country, packaged in another, and shipped from a third, all while claiming to be from whichever location sounds the most desirable. And grocery stores know this. That's why they use flags, old-world fonts, rustic illustrations, and foreign language snippets on packaging to trigger your trust response. You're not just buying cheese, you're buying the idea of France. You're not just buying olive oil, you're buying the romance of Italy. It's a psychological trick designed to make you spend more, even if the product inside is mediocre or worse. Even more troubling is how little regulation there is when it comes to enforcing country of origin labels. Importers can legally write "Product of Italy" on a label as long as some portion of the product was processed or packaged there. That could mean dumping bulk oil into a bottle in Rome and shipping it out. Technically true, but ethically misleading. So what can you do about it? First, don't assume that imported means better. Look for certification labels like PDO, Protected Designation of Origin, PGI, Protected Geographical Indication, or organic seals from recognized organizations. These aren't foolproof, but they at least indicate some level of oversight. Second, read beyond the front of the label. Turn the product around. Look for a full list of ingredients, production locations, and manufacturer details. Vague language like "packaged in the EU" should raise red flags. Third, buy from brands you trust, preferably ones that are transparent about sourcing. Some high-quality companies go out of their way to tell you where every ingredient comes from, how it's processed, and what standards they follow. Support them, even if it costs a bit more. Fourth, whenever possible, buy domestic alternatives from local producers who prioritize transparency. Local olive oil, cheese, honey, and seafood might not come with the imported prestige, but they're often fresher, cleaner, and more trustworthy. And finally, educate yourself. Read up on food fraud, follow watchdog organizations, stay alert to recalls and expose reports. The more you know, the harder it is for shady importers and grocery chains to pull one over on you. In the end, imported food isn't automatically bad. There are incredible products from all over the world that are worth every penny. But don't let the word imported become a blindfold. Because in today's global food system, what you see on the label doesn't always match what's inside the box. And when it comes to what you put in your body, you deserve the truth, not just clever packaging and vague promises. So next time you see the word imported, pause, ask questions, flip the label. Because trust in food should be earned, not assumed.